Don't know why it's not going away. Yeah.
And there's the show. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Welcome to the Hodlnots Weekly Warm-Up. This is your start of the week with all things crypto, especially headlines. My name is John,
I'm Vicky.
and let's get into some of those stories making headlines over the last couple of days. Bitcoin. Well, it took a dump and then it took a turn again for the upside. Why? Apparently rising to 77,000 after Trump has signaled a major Iran peace breakthrough. Now, after a few days of highlighting threats that a peace deal might not be reached soon, which increased the selling pressure on the crypto market, President Donald Trump announced the opposite hours ago. Now, the effects were immediate as Bitcoin erased almost all of Friday and Saturday's losses, jumping up to 77,000 odd, currently sitting at 77,400. Now, the latest reports on the US-Iran war front indicate that the former might be preparing for new attacks. The rumors intensified when POTUS skipped his son's wedding to remain in the White House for meetings with top military personnel. However, follow-up reports coming during the night suggested that the US and Iran might actually be getting a lot closer to finalizing a deal. Hours later, Trump posted on his social media platform that his administration had a very good call with the leaders of multiple countries in the region, such as Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, Bahrain, and so forth, regarding the Islamic Republic of Iran, and that all things related to the Memorandum of Understanding pertaining to peace. Moreover, his post indicated that an agreement has been largely negotiated, subject to finalization between the two sides and the various countries in the region. He added that he spoke with Israel's prime minister, which went very well. Now, it's all good and well that a potential peace plan has been brokered, but there are still a lot of large whales who have been selling, not just the war going on, not just the geopolitical events, but a large number of people, including Warren Buffett and a bunch of others, are starting to sell some of the Bitcoin, including BlackRock as well. But we ain't got no control over that. We trade what we see.
Someone else, though, who has been buying very quietly is SpaceX. So SpaceX reveals just how much Bitcoin it actually owns. So SpaceX has revealed in a new S-1 registration statement with the US Securities and Exchange Commission, which is the SEC, that it owns $1.293 billion worth of Bitcoin on its balance sheet. The disclosure is the first time the company has publicly shared details about its crypto treasury. Elon Musk has publicly hinted that his company's interest in digital assets through his frequent social media commentary is quite large. However, this filing marks the first time the aerospace giant has formally acknowledged holding Bitcoin. Until now, estimates of the firm's holding had been mostly speculative, with analysts tracking wallets putting the figure around 8,000 Bitcoin-ish. So the revelation places SpaceX amongst the largest corporate holders of Bitcoin worldwide, surpassing Tesla's own reserves. According to the data, the former now ranks seventh globally, while the latter sits in 13th place, holding 11,509. And now, of course, this revelation has come about because they had to file this S1 statement because they are just about to launch publicly on the NASDAQ, and that will be on 12 June this year under the ticker SPCX. And when they launch, this is incredible, that company is touted to be worth about 1.75 to $2 trillion, which will make Elon Musk the first trillionaire in the world.
Oh, that is a lot of zeros. Well done to
Yes.
him.
Mhm.
Now we'll come back to SpaceX and a slightly different story a little later on that. But well, SpaceX has been holding a fair bit of Bitcoin or purchasing some more. Well, guess who holds the most? Strategy holds now $65 billion worth in Bitcoin, and these are some of the biggest buys. Now, a software firm turned Bitcoin treasury company strategy has been buying Bitcoin for more than 5 years, pioneering the growing trend of publicly traded firms that are adding cryptocurrencies to the balance sheets. What started as a way to maximize long-term value for shareholders has transformed into an industry-shifting paradigm that has been further fueled by greater entwinement of traditional financial markets and crypto. Along the way, strategy has accumulated 843,738,000 Bitcoin, or roughly 4% of the fixed 21 million total Bitcoin supply, a stash that is worth nearly $65 billion at today's current price, around 77,000. That's a fair bit. And there is another story that if you had bought $100 worth of Bitcoin a month since 2015, that total investment of $13,700 would be now worth more than $600,000. Interesting. Not financial advice. We're here to stay. Vicky, back to you.
Coulda, woulda, coulda. Oh well. We're still early, don't forget. So, now someone else who hasn't been in the news actually very much lately is Sam Bankman-Fried, which is the FTX man. And the fallout continues though, because former advisor was charged with helping him do that, let's say, and they have to pay $54 million in fines now. So the law firm Fenwick and West agreed on Friday to pay $54 million to settle allegations related to its advisory role in the collapse of the FTX cryptocurrency exchange. So the preliminary settlement was filed in the US District Court for the Southern District of Florida and is pending the judge's approval. The parties agreed to resolve all pending and potential claims to avoid the cost, inconvenience, and uncertainty of future litigation, the court filing states. Fenwick provided legal services, advice, and consulting to FTX before the exchange's collapse in 2022, which triggered a liquidity crisis and a prolonged cryptocurrency bear market. The lawsuits were later filed against California-based firms, alleging that it aided and abetted the fraud. Fenwick denies the allegations and entered the settlement agreement without admitting any wrongdoing, fault, liability, or damages, according to the filing. So I don't think we've seen the last of that one, though.
No, we're still dealing with potential repercussions, and as if anything has taught you anything, ladies and gents, stop losses are always important. So you never know when something else might collapse, and otherwise trade what you see. There's no guarantee in any certain direction. You can use the trend analysis and you can use the indicators, and we'll look at Bitcoin shortly, but anything can happen at any point. So always be careful. Now, a lot of global adoption is taking place around the world, and we know that the US is trying to pass such things such as the Clarity Act, the Parity Act, and a few others, and other countries, in Europe and elsewhere are setting up regulatory frameworks. Now, one country that is not opening to retail per se, but more to foreign trade to enable and finally allow cryptocurrencies to be an actual thing is Russia. So how is Russia planning to allow crypto only for foreign trade settlements? Well, Russia is currently in the process of adopting a highly regulated system for digital assets through its approach, although its approach is nuanced rather than a straightforward legalization effort. Officials' broad objective is to establish a system that facilitates international trade payments while limiting the role of digital assets within the country. This model of crypto regulation in Russia primarily positions digital assets as a strategic geopolitical instrument rather than a routine financial asset. Fundamentally, Russia's strategy remains targeted. Right? Bear that in mind. Now, regulators are not treating digital currencies as a substitute for the ruble. Instead, they are outlining restricted applications intended to support external economic operations. Well, this difference does matter. While other countries often discuss expanding retail access, Russia is prioritizing structured, institutional level applications linked to cross-border commerce. In this setting, crypto represents a means of strengthening payment system resilience rather than driving broader financial innovation. Now, it's a different stance on crypto and crypto regulation. Every country has different objectives around whether, retail, you and I have access to this and whether we can use it for national payment options. Russia's taking a different tact at the moment, realizing, looking at what Iran has done with the Strait of Hormuz, potentially, although Iran does have crypto within its borders and exchange and so forth, Russia's taking a different tact. Will other countries follow suit? We'll see. To you.
Hmm. This is a little bit of a fun story, actually, and we're actually glad that it isn't true. I saw this yesterday, and there are all over Twitter and X at the moment that CZ, who is the founder of Binance, was caught up in a little bit of a hoax on Sunday. I don't know if anyone else saw this on X, but the hoax claimed that he was in a surfing accident, and what happened was there was a whole bunch of meme coins launched because of it. But he actually has denied the viral rumor that claimed he went missing in a Dubai surfing accident on Sunday. The fabricated story spread first through Chinese language WeChat groups. So, in his pushback, the Binance founder noted Dubai is not a surfing destination, but opportunistic traders had already spun up tiny meme coins on Solana and BNB chain. So the fabricated post claims CZ had been swept out to sea near Jumeirah Beach as a rescue team searched. Within hours, traders deployed knockoff tokens on Pump.fun and BNB chain memes launchpad, most carrying it was an SEAZ ticker, so C's, and RIPCZ ticker, so rest in peace, CZ. So apparently it wasn't true. And I actually didn't see any of the coins launch, but I heard about it on Twitter. So it's actually interesting how people just launch coins. And obviously it wasn't true.
Yeah, I definitely know that Dubai is not a surfing area, really. But anyways, that's it. Or is DYOR, ladies and gents. Now, one person who has DYOR'd or done his own research is a gentleman by the name of Chun Wang. Well, some of you might not know the name, but he also did help fund one of the very first SpaceX flights. And now he's pretty much booked a flight, the first flight ever in this generation to be doing a flyby past Mars. Now, crypto entrepreneur Cheng Wang, he is joining SpaceX for this mission. Now, he's a Chinese-born Maltese entrepreneur who founded the Bitcoin mining pool F2 Pool and has joined SpaceX's first planned interplanetary mission to Mars after purchasing the mission. Now, SpaceX announced on Thursday that the 2-year-long mission will explore beyond the moon, fly by Mars, and return to Earth. Wang has also bought a ticket for a planned week-long commercial space flight around the moon that will launch before the Mars mission. He says, I believe that even without private investment in lunar flights, we will still reach the moon and likely very soon. As competition between the United States and China intensifies, governments will turn lunar bases into reality. He said this in a post on X on Friday. He says, and I'm happy to sit back and watch that happen. On the other hand, I have no confidence that Mars will still happen within our lifetime, and I think I should do something about that. I hope that by purchasing a flyby mission to Mars, SpaceX will have another reason not to forget about Mars, because we seriously shouldn't defer Mars to our next generation. Right, well, taking the space rocket by the horns he is, and we may well see that. There is talks of that first week-long mission around the moon commercially by 2028, and they are starting to look at Mars and settlements, and they're talking about millions of tons of people in terms of the project, not going to Mars yet, and millions of tons of cargo. But who knows? We might still see it in our lifetime. But again, it depends. How old are you? And how long will it take to raise all the funds to do that? But either way, an interesting look and use of crypto. Some of us are just trying to pay bills. Anyway, with that said, that is some of the headlines for the last couple of days. Let's talk a little bit about the Fear and Greed Index. Are things looking a little bit more optimistic, especially the pieces on the table, Vicky?
No, no. So the fear and greed index actually went down from last week, and it was actually probably the way it has to happen because it really kind of follows the market. So when Bitcoin went down, so did the fear and greed index because people are just sick to death of this market and they're just a little bit fearful. What do you do? What do you jump in? Do you jump in and Our solution to that is yes, but trade what you see. Don't just jump in willy-nilly. Jump in when the coins are running and whatever coin is running, and that should alleviate some of your fear. But let's just have a look to see what Bitcoin's doing anyway.
Absolutely. Let's move that out of the way. Go. All right. So Bitcoin on the day at the moment. And when we looked at it last week on Monday, that would be 18th, we had said to you that finding good support there. And it went sideways for a few days as predicted. And then there was a bit of a dip there on Friday. But, guess what? And this is why we teach this on our courses, understanding where support and resistance is. And it worked down to that previous support, as mentioned on Monday. Funny enough, 75,000 historic previous support that then became resistance and ended up being support again. And yes, because President Donald Trump, having announced that potentially some peace, there was a bit of a rally. In the meantime, we are seeing for the next couple of days, just looking at these indicators, Hodlnots, you guys know what these indicators are. And you can see that it is going to be bouncing and finding a little bit of resistance up along the way in terms of that. And if we're able to see Bitcoin close above the 78,000 in the next couple of days, it's going to be retesting. We're going to be testing 80,000 for sure. And then once breaking that, we'd like to see it close above 83,000. But in the meantime, we're going to see a little bit of turbulence. That said, if we bring in the HODL Fire indicator, for those of you who are looking to farm Bitcoin or have been farming Bitcoin, this may well be a potential turning point. So we still got to wait for the next 14 hours for that to be confirmed. But we don't envisage it breaking down below $74,289.60 in the next 14 hours. But then again, right, trade what you see, trade cautiously. For those of you playing Bitcoin in the longer time frames, obviously that is important. But same going for Solana and Ripple and everything else long term. But that's it. There are some great coins that have been running for the last 2, 3 hours in terms of scalping, and the last couple of days we've been following such coins such as Dexy with the HODL Fire graduates and getting some great entries. And there are a bunch of others that are shaping up. You want to find out more? Well, do join us in the Hodlnots ecosystem, whether it be in the large or some of the other calls within Hodlnots. Here's Vicky to tell you more about those calls.
Yeah, it's a great time to learn actually when the market's doing this. So we have a lot of calls scheduled for the lodge this week. And the first one is coming up in about an hour and a half, let's say ish. And that's an espresso chat in the lodge. So again, espresso chats are just little chats. We don't have a set topic, but you can jump on and ask any questions that you might have. We've had some really, really fun ones. We've been trading, we've been chatting, we've been learning. So that is at 11 a.m. UTC today, and the link will be in the lodge. And then we have our first of the self-paced course calls as usual on Monday at 12 p.m. UTC. So that is for anyone that is currently busy with chapters 1 to 3. You can jump on and ask any questions you have about the material in chapters 1 to 3. And then Wendy's Lodge call is at the other time this week. So that is at 7 p.m. today, UTC. So that is her normal scheduled call, and she has some topics to discuss there. So jump on if you are on that time zone at 7 p.m. UTC. And then on Tuesday, we have another self-paced course call at 5 a.m. UTC. So if you didn't get to jump on, or you couldn't because you were sleeping, you can jump on that one at 5 a.m. UTC. If you're on any chapter or module and ask questions about the course, and that's the self-paced course. And then we are going to do another X space, and they're getting really super fun. So that is at 11 a.m. UTC on Tuesday, obviously on X. So you would need an X account to join that, but it's a little bit different. We talk about the wider crypto market on those, not so much trading. And then right after that, we have our HODL Fire graduate call, which is actually it's not a webinar format, it's actually a chat call. So we jump on and we see what coins are running, see what everyone did over the weekend with the trading, and see what we can find for new calls. And we also train a little bit in there too. So that's at 12 p.m. UTC this week on Tuesday. And then following that, the next one will be Wednesday at 9 p.m. UTC, which is the Hodl call. So that is for anyone focusing on scalping in the 3M challenge. That's the first call at 9 p.m. UTC. And then there is another one if you can't or miss that one at 7 a.m. UTC on Thursday. And Marcel will be doing that call. So again, a different point of view from Marcel. So you can jump on that if you're focusing on scalping. Not a Hodlnot call, but there is an IPO call this week, and that is the once a month call. So that is at 8:30 a.m. UTC on Thursday. And then we'll be doing another X Space. So that is at 10 a.m., a little bit earlier than the one on Tuesday. So 10 a.m. UTC on Thursday. And that will be immediately followed by another espresso chat in the lodge, and then immediately followed after that with the last of the self-paced course calls, and that is for anyone on chapters 4 onwards. So we do split the calls up Monday, Thursday, because there's so much information. We don't really want everyone together that hasn't really done the next chapters and modules. And then we do have a Hodl Fire course this week. So this is actually a later one. So this is for anyone in the Western Hemisphere, so the Americas and the Europe hemisphere, the Europe kind of middle. And then that starts at 1 p.m. UTC on Wednesday and Friday. So that's the Hodl Fire course. If you have been using the Hodl Fire but want to know how to use it to its full advantage, everyone that's on the course has really loved it, and we love having it. So that is this Wednesday and Friday at 1 p.m. UTC. So it's really, really busy week again.
Absolutely. Plenty of opportunities, ladies and gents, to ask us questions. We can share as much as we can with you, but unless we know what you're wanting to know more about or practice more on, it's up to you. Cool. Well, that's fairly positive. Do you have any other positivity to end the week on in terms of the weekly
Yeah,
thoughts?
yeah, I'm actually staying with the vanilla thing again, because I really like that kind of analogy. And if you missed it last week, we started talking about we trade vanilla, because vanilla is everyone thinks it's kind of boring, and everyone's, no, it's very vanilla. But vanilla outperforms most other flavors in the world. And we kind of likened it to the way we trade what you see. It's kind of a little boring, but it is dependable. And I'm going to stay on that because we're hearing a lot about a lot in the world. We're hearing negative things and positive things, and the market's going to do it, and the market's doing that, and it's whipping everyone up to a frenzy. And I won't trade until, don't do that. I mean, you need to take advantage of it now. So we're going to be thinking about vanilla trading still, because it's consistent and it's dependable, and it just quietly gets the job done with no fanfare and never pretending that it's something that it's not. It's just safe crypto trading. Nothing is too sweet or salty or tangy or spicy. It's just quietly there, adding the right amount of flavor, which is actually really what it's all about.
Okay. And now that you guys are all like salivating with sweet and salty and spicy and whatnot, keep that in mind. We'll see you guys on some of the calls this week. Until then, take care. Ciao, ciao.